How's it going, smokers? Today we've got a little bit different video format here, mostly because I'm actually talking to you. Uh, New engine showed up. This is a Rovan 36cc dual ring motor. I'm going to go through the first steps to running these motors. These are sold as ready to run, but due to assembly issues, they're not quite ready to go out of the box. These are a fantastic engine. They're probably the best bang for your buck as far as you can go in a big bore. This is a big bore motor, 36 cc's. Um, so in this video and the next one, we're going to be going over the basic steps onto getting this thing to run properly. Like, it is a big motor. It should have tons of power, and we're going to make sure that that happens that way. First steps we're going to do, we're going to tear down the motor and take these covers off, go in, take the head off, and what we're going to end up doing is we are going to do a ring delete. So you can see, this engine has 2 rings. Now that's done to, according to Rovan, to improve compression. However, compression's not really what that does. Is with the dual rings you end up having better ring wear, better ring longevity, but on the flip side of that you end up with twice as much friction and drag on your piston, and we don't want that. We want to eliminate drag. So we're going to end up doing a ring delete, doing a gasket delete, bring the head down so we have proper compression, because right now it's nothing really to write home about. It's decent, don't get me wrong, you can run this engine the way it is and it'll run all right, but we want it to run awesome, and it's going to run awesome. Before we get started on the mods, you're going to need some tools. Need our Allen keys, tearing the engine apart, good Phillips screwdriver, nice big head on it, taking the screws out of the top of the case, and an Olfa knife to remove the gasket. Yours doesn't have to be as janky as mine is, but this is what I got. Okay, engine stripped. Now we're going to very carefully break the head loose. As you can see, you have a base gasket, some of this sealant, which doesn't even seem to be dried. And we're going to very carefully pull the top of the head off. Check for any sort of strange wear. And as you can see, try to get some light. This engine hasn't even been run yet, and there's dirt, crud of some kind, inside the engine. This is why, if you're going to run a Rovan engine, you have to, at the very least, open it up before you run it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use either some acetone or gasoline. We're going to clean all the surfaces inside the engine that gasoline is going to touch to make sure that it is spotless, because we don't want any schmoo inside of our brand new engine that could potentially destroy it. Now that we've got our engine opened up, Inspect, look for any other wear. And we want to check piston skirt, the bottom here. Make sure we don't feel any burrs, any of the machining around the edges of the piston. Check the top. I can just feel it with my thumbnail. There's a slight burr right at the top of the piston. Now, I'm going to continue on from here in the next video, rip this thing completely apart, and we're going to end up porting the head and the case. And in that video, I'll go over tidying up your piston, making it run smooth. But from here, because we have the 2 piston rings, we only want to run 1. So we're going to very carefully slide the piston ring all the way to one side and very carefully pull up on it to get it up out of the ring groove. And then just gently work this around. There. Top ring is out. And we're going to hang on to, I'm going to hang on to this one because now that we have higher ring wear, we're going to need a spare. So this one will stay in the parts bin. And now for the tricky part, we're going to take this bottom ring and move it up into the top groove. So get it around to a point where it's happy. We're going to find there's a pin in the piston that locates the piston ring. So we're going to find that spot, squish the piston ring over again, and then ever so gently pull it up into the second ring groove.
A few moments later.
So end up taking the piston ring completely out. Just checking to see which one seems to be in better shape. And then to put it back on, tip the piston up, find the locator pin, set the ring into its groove, and then again, very carefully work it around till it's home. There. That's where your piston ring is going to want to live. Now, this is where the magic happens. Take your Wolf knife, and we're going to very carefully get under this base gasket. Extra schmoo out. Now from here, you take some acetone or gasoline, whichever you choose. Swish it around inside the engine. Swish it around inside the head. If you have a toothbrush or something, a paintbrush, work it around in there, because you want to get rid of all the schmoo that was left over here from machining. Also couldn't hurt, take a piece of 400 grit sandpaper or Scotch-Brite, SOS, well, not SOS, but Scotch-Brite. Gently clean the mating surface here. And then before you put any sort of sealant or anything on it, use acetone. Clean both mating surfaces or straight gasoline, because you don't want any oils left over that are going to prevent this from sealing. And then we're going to use a very thin layer of either petroleum resistant RTV or case sealant is what I like to use, and just ever so gently, ever so lightly, we just want to make sure every surface here is covered, because so that we get a nice good tight seal. Because then the engine goes back on. You can hear, without the gasket, nothing's bottoming out. Nice and smooth. But by taking out this gasket and replacing it with sealant, we've lowered the head down slightly so the piston comes up, and you end up having higher compression and more jam out of your engine than if you would have just run it stock out of the box. This has taken all of 15 minutes, but it'll make a huge difference in the way your engine runs. So if you want to stick around, part 2, we're going to continue tearing apart the rest of this engine and get into it with some real tools. Take care.